How are you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm good. I'm full time. Let's go. What's going
How
on?
long? How long had you been sitting there?
I listened to all of the driving conversation, the Upper Peninsula. I know everything there is to know now about Northern Michigan.
Don't forget to take a jacket.
I've got a
There,
jacket. I still have hats and gloves from the winter in my car, so I'm in good shape as far as that goes.
I used to leave that stuff, gloves in my car year round.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, listen,
but I,
we live in Indiana. Okay, so if you don't like the weather, just wait 20 minutes.
yeah, I always, I try to keep that stuff for that very reason. Stuff changes, baby. How's it going with you?
Oh, good. Yeah, good. Just kind of the midst of the dog days of training camp and another practice today for the Colts up at Grand Park in Westfield. Be heading out up there in just a few minutes, and then first game preseason game is Saturday in Buffalo. So things are progressing and heating up a little bit.
Now, speaking of these preseason games, I've seen, I don't know if it was the Colts or whom, but I think it may have been that there was a plan of playing the starters a little more than what we have customarily seen in preseason games, which is partly why most people don't like preseason games. But then you're starving for pro football, so they take whatever they can get.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the conversation that we're always going to have so long as preseason football exists. It's a delicate balance of getting guys ready for the regular season. Sort of that adage of being combat ready versus just getting healthy and having your best players available for week one. Why risk injuries? In an exhibition game, and so it's just this there's two different ideologies, if you will. I'm more in the camp of I think it's circumstantial, and I think the circumstances this year for the Colts dictate that they need to play. I mean, you've got a new quarterback. Think about this. This will be the first time the Colts have a starting quarterback be able to play in a preseason game since 2018, right? So
Wow.
Andrew Luck, and then in 19, all the drama with the calf, and then 2021, the pandemic wiped out the preseason 2 years ago. Last year, Carson Wentz didn't play with a foot injury. So it's just about time on task and assimilating. And Matt Ryan has a new team, a new everything for the first time in 15 years. Plus, you've got a new scheme on defense. That's huge. Time on task. Schematically, with most of the Colts defenders. I think that's important. Also, too, you know, the Colts are one of those teams that, for whatever reason, and I don't think there is just one reason, but they haven't started seasons off very well. I mean, they are 6-11 record wise, dating back, or in the month of September, I should say, 6-11 in the month of September since 2017. And that includes an 0-3 start, a 1-4 start, a 1-5 start. Three out of Frank Reich's 4 years here have been slow starting teams, and they've changed practice times in camp. They've changed the schedule for more rest time. They're pushing guys, in a 3-day period instead of 4-day periods. So it's being tweaked, and it's that old adage of if it's not broke, don't fix it. This is sort of the opposite of that. You have to keep trying and tweaking until you get this right, because you cannot afford a slow start this year. I mean, every year, obviously, you don't want to get off to a slow start. But if you get off to a slow start this year with all those AFC South games right out of the gate, you're going to be dead and buried, and there's not a lot of time to get back in it inside the AFC South, because the division games are so front loaded at the beginning of the schedule.
There are very few years that you can start 1-4 and have a successful end to the year. And but they were so close to having I gotta get that stupid thing off. Something's going off on my phone. Um, but they were almost able to do that last season. Having a 1-4 start, but they were almost able to overcome that. Uh, Part of the things that they're hoping to do, I saw that. Um, oh God, you're killing me. Stop. Found it. Yannick Ngakwe plans to study offenses with Robert Mathis, 6 years removed from the league, but member of the Ring of Honor. Obviously, a guy who is a quintessential defender. That's the kind of buy-in that has to make Colts fans happy, because that's what it takes. That's at next level buy-in.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very good camp, and it's been a very normal camp. We talked about that last week. No COVID protocols, no injuries to major players. Knock on wood. I mean, the only big injury concern so far is Shaquille Leonard. Starting the training camp period on PUP, still not back yet. That still is something to be monitored. But outside of that, it's not like the Colts have 6, 7 starters missing significant time like that was the case last year. And you got, especially on defense, man, it's been fun to watch. It's like infusing the defense with 3, first round draft picks, big time playmakers in Stephon Gilmore, Yannick Ngakoue, and then you got Julian Blackmon back healthy. I mean, that's like, again, 3 top players that you didn't have last year for majority of the season. And I just think, watching the practices the last couple of days, when you go offense and defense in those 11-on-11 periods, the last couple of days anyways, the defense has gotten the best of the offense. They've gone situational work, red zone, 2-minute drill, 4-minute drill. And it's hard for the offense to move the ball against the defense. And I think some of that is you chalk it up to it's just camp, and you're not game planning, and you're working out the kinks, and you're installing the playbook, and you're finding out what works and what doesn't. But I also think there's a lot of playmakers on the defense, and looking at that unit, there's not a lot of holes there, and it's going to be fun to watch that unit progress towards the regular season, because I think it has a chance to be pretty special this year.
Well, and one of the things I think, Matt, that one of the reasons I think that this is a smart move for the Colts to play a lot of their starters, and we don't know times and all that stuff, but you only learn so much in camp. And sometimes when you're going through new schemes and you have new pieces, a lot of times the defense is going to be ahead of the offense. And I understand too that you're not going to learn maybe a ton from these preseason games, but I think that you're going to have the chance to learn at least a little bit more about your team going up against a difference, right? They're not going up against themselves. They're not going up against each other like they have in off-season training and through the first couple weeks here of fall training camp. So I think that's a huge asset. But what are you looking for in that first preseason game? What's going to be something that's going to catch your eye in those first preseason games that you'd like to see based on what they've done in camp?
Well, I think that's a great point. I mean, if you go back to the beginning of May and the offseason workout program until now, I mean, that's a long time for the offense and defense to get to know one another and the scheme. Right. So you're looking at 2.5 weeks of training camp right now every day. And yeah, a guy like Stephon Gilmore knows the Colts offense just as good as Michael Pittman Jr. So he knows what's coming before it comes. And so with that in mind, it's going to be so refreshing to actually play a game against a different team and a different scheme and different players, and quite frankly, in a different environment, for the first time, since the guys reported for camp. But no, I mean, when the starters are on the field in that first quarter against Buffalo, quite frankly, I want to see execution. I want to see the starters win their period of time in which they're in the game. I want to see scoring drives. I want to see third down conversions. I want to see just execution. I don't want to see false starts. I don't want to see mistakes, mental errors. You may not win the game, but you need to win the portion of the time of the game in which you're in there if you're a starter. That's why I think it's so important for Matt Ryan. I mean, just get out there, get in the flow of, the rhythm of how this works. How do I receive the play from the sideline from Frank Reich? How do we huddle? How do we get out of the huddle? Who needs to be, instructed to line up correctly? Just get all of that stuff out of the way in time for the regular season. And then I think, when you have the young guys in there, maybe at the end of the first half and obviously there in the second half, I want to see flashes. You're going to have mistakes and you're going to have guys going through those growing pains. It's their first taste of any NFL action. But I want to see you flash. I want to see why the Colts drafted you. I want to see the trait that they drafted you on. I want to see that show up on the game field. And I also want to see some of these guys, the risers and the guys that have had good camps. I'm eager to see if it translates to the game field. It's one thing, to beat some guys in one-on-one drills that you've seen every single day in practice, but can you beat a Buffalo left tackle, off the edge if you're a defensive end, on that, and you only get 1 or 2 snaps at it, right? So I want to see those things translate from the practice field to the game field if you're a young guy. And then for the starters, I just want to see execution. It's only going to boil down to about 3 series in the first quarter, maybe if that. I mean, if the Colts go on a long scoring drive, right, if they get a field goal or a touchdown and it's a 10, 11 play drive, but you had success, you convert a couple of third downs, I think right there you call it quits. You feel good about it, but that's what I want to see. I want to see the offense, and I don't think Buffalo is going to play their starters. I could be wrong in that. I've read where Buffalo may not play, Josh Allen and company on offense. Not sure about their defense. So if that's the case, like, for example, if you have the starters for the Colts on offense going up a mix of, some back end 1s or the 2s of Buffalo, then I definitely want to see the Colts offense move the ball and just execute at a high level.
So you're saying they need to pull a Costanza. I'm out.
That's right. Go out on a high note, man.
That's it.
Leave them laughing.
I appreciate you appreciating the low lying effort there. Not everybody gets that, man. Not everybody gets that. It's getting further and further away, I've noticed, unfortunately. But of course, that show is 1,000 years old now. I've realized.
It's like 25 years old, man.
It's unbelievable. It's crazy. It's nuts. How's everything else going for Matt Taylor?
I wish I could tell you. I don't really have time to know. That's where we're at right now. I mean, with camp, it's funny. Camp's in the middle of the day in terms of practice. So in the morning I work, I drive to camp, we do practice, we do media availability. I pack up to sort of beat rush hour going from Westfield to the south side of Indianapolis. I unpack, I go back to work, kids come home, spend time with the kids, go back to work until about 11:30 midnight every night. So it's like on autopilot, man. I wish I had time to tell you, but that's what life has been the last 3 weeks.
Well, it's and it's not going to get any better. It's just going to keep on rolling, baby. Keep on rolling because it's here.
That's right. And I'm not complaining because it beats working. And at the end of the day, we're talking football and we're having fun. And, we're sitting in front of a computer, sitting here talking about Matt Ryan and completion percentage and all that. We're not working jackhammers. We're not digging ditches. Life's pretty good.
This is a rhetorical question, but did you know that high school football starts tomorrow night in Indiana?
I did know that.
Both Dustin and I were dumbfounded to find that out.
Well, I'm in Florida, so I have an excuse.
Oh, hush.
Now, is it the first game or the scrimmage week?
Yeah, it's the Jamboree scrimmage week. But even with that, I was like, what? Yeah. I remember I thought our Jamborees were like at the end of August.
No, this is how this goes. This is exactly how this goes every single year. You start training camp, you blink, and then it's week 3, and then you blink, and then it's Thanksgiving, and then you blink, and then it's New Year's Eve, and then you're getting
graduated. And then you've graduated.
Yep.
Brother,
you just try not to piss anybody off in between.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. Yeah, that's not something I'm great successful at. Matt Taylor, the voice of the Indianapolis Colts, brother. I hope you have an incredible weekend. It looks like it's going to be pretty nice out there.
Yep. Will do, my friend. I'll talk to you next week.